Hello, this is Gene. Um, Talking to you today at a very gloomy morning here in Florida. Uh, Looking outside right now is the most I've seen as far as clouds in a long time. So it looks like we might get some rain today. I think we got some earlier today, which is be nice for my grass, which is too brown to admit at this point. Not that I really care about stuff like that. I want to talk today about a couple things in the news that I watched the last couple days, give my take on it, and just see what you guys think in the comments, and we can talk about it there. First, I want to talk about the wiretapping incident or claim by the president. It seems like late yesterday, it was pretty much confirmed that the Trump transition team was surveilled. Now, people on the left wants to say that it doesn't really mean they were wiretapped. However, for somebody who actually worked in the position, the actual type of job where we surveilled people, there's different ways to do it. The different types of tools you can use. One is a wiretapping, but not like what you see in the community movies where they would put the little thing inside the phone. We don't have that really anymore. Everything's digital now. And a lot of that stuff can be done remotely. Um, so it seems like clearly they were surveilled because apparently there was concern that Trump was talking to people from excuse me, foreign governments at his private hotel. Um, Now, as somebody, as I said, that worked with the intel community, this is common knowledge. This is what we do when a foreign national comes over. Somebody comes from a country like Russia or China or North Korea. They are surveilled from the moment they come in the moment that they come in this country, even before that. So wherever they go, there we try to surveil them or quote unquote wiretap them to find out what's going on. And they do the same thing to our guys when they go over there. This is nothing new. But what was more concerning to me is that the names that were out there and fed to the media on U.S. Citizens is against the law, and that's the one area. That's where the area that they need to go to right now. Um, Certainly, people on the left are still saying that somehow that Trump somewhat colluded with the Russians to hack our national election. I find that very hard to believe. I don't think that happened, and I doubt that Trump would have done that. When I first started looking at the presidential election, I always thought that Trump was doing this as a protest type of movement, kind of like what Sanders was doing. But then when it looked clear to him that he might actually win at least the GOP nomination, he decided to go ahead full board and see if he could actually win the job. And I've been satisfied with what he's done so far. I'm not so sure about the healthcare part of it, but he's doing everything he said he was going to do, and we knew he was going to run into a lot of obstacles along the way, not only from the left, but also from people in his own party. So overall, I think that he's done a good job, and I think that there's a lot more here. And I think that it was probably clear, as we know with the DNC leaks, that the type of operation that they work or run, to doubt that they would not do the same things even after he won the presidency. It's not because well, obviously they were upset that he won, but they're looking for a way to to make him look like he's not a good president, and maybe get him impeached. Although I don't really understand why that would mean anything, because that means that Pence would be president, and he's more conservative than Trump is anyway. But I think if they had the impeachment, then they figured they'd get the White House back. The other thing that came was another terrorist incident in Britain. As some of you know, my two sons, were born in Britain. They have British passports. I mean, they're United States citizens, but they're also they can claim British citizenship if they want to. So this does kind of hits home a little bit, even as much as I was upset about France or Belgium, because That's really where my heritage is from. It doesn't surprise me, and it doesn't surprise me that what happens after this type of things happens, and that we somehow still have to defend Muslims and saying that they can't be persecuted because it's not really a reflection of their race, or their race. That's a Freudian slip. Their religion, when it clearly is. I don't really know what to do at this point, and I think that's why that people who somewhat think more on the side of the alt-right, that why they're getting more people to be on their side, because that we know just by not common knowledge that you just can't have a backward culture to come in to somebody's more modern culture. And it's one thing that you bring them in at a very small amount, like 1% over 100 years or something. But what's happened in Europe, especially in London, London is no longer a British citizen or city anymore. It's only by name only. The Brits are actually the minority in their capital city. Of course, I could say the same thing about the D.C. It's the same way. I mean, if you look at, quote unquote, what would be, I mean, white D.C. is no longer there. It's basically a chocolate city. Not that that means anything. These are American citizens, so I don't have any problem with that per se. But D.C. and Baltimore have some of the worst crime statistics, and it's almost uniformly on one side. So their challenge is a little different than ours at this point, although because we're Western and we are the actual last stand for Western values, that it's going to come here. And unfortunately, the people that I've supported my entire life politically apparently want this to happen. This whole thing that diversity is our strength, and that by being a melting pot, we're going to be more tolerant and empathetic for other people. It doesn't work in the real world. It's not how it works. People tend to deal or want to be around people that look like them, that have the same culture that they have. That doesn't make you racist by saying it. These are facts of life, and you just can't all of a sudden change evolution or biology in in 30 or 40 years. You can't do that. So stop. My dog here is making sounds. Anyway, it's unfortunate that we have to keep going through this stuff, and I don't know exactly at what point that, quote unquote, the white man is going to stand up and stop this from happening. Is it going to be so late that it's going to be too late, or at some point is somebody going to stand up? I don't know. I just don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I've had several videos about this at different times, and my emotions were raw during that time. It's not really there anymore. I'm numb to it at this point. I mean, it wasn't only about 40 miles from here. We had Pulse, so it's every day, it seems like, and nobody cares. It's no longer. No one really isn't talking about it anymore. 6 minutes, 6 hours after it happened, we're moving on to the next thing, and the next thing is the Russians are taking over the United States, which is laughable at best. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is Tomi Lahren. Never really liked her per se. I mean, I've watched some of her videos. I do some of her beatdowns that she has on different people on the left are kind of nice to look at. I think that she's overrated. I think that she's not as good looking as a lot of people think she is. And how she actually delivers her speeches or her tactics is it's not very nice to look at. I mean, she uses her hands very forcefully, and it's just not something. I mean, I can listen to her, I guess, without seeing her. But there are a lot of people, both on the left, mostly on the right, that are actually white knighting for her now, because Glenn Beck, who is somebody that I don't really like, but as a private businessman who owns the channel that she's on, after she made some of the comments she said about people who are pro-life, I don't have any issue with him suspending her for a week. There's a difference. I mean, she had every right and every freedom to say what she said on The View, or what she said about pro-lifers, saying that they're hypocrites when it comes to their limited government. But he has every right as a private businessman to say, you know what, I'm going to take you off the air for a week, and then when we come back, you can do whatever you want again. But I'm not going to have you insult the vast majority of people that watch his network. You can have differences when it comes to this issue. Personally, I don't think there is. I think it's a black and white issue, and more I go into it over the years, I think that it's even more black and white. I've been trying to say that I'm okay. I can compromise. So maybe in truth, I could say I'm pro-choice, but my pro-choice would be there are no abortions after the first trimester. But as more and more I go on, thinking of how the lack of responsibility that women have in this area, that when they could pretty much solve all these issues, about 90% of all abortion in this country, the United States, is elective. It's not because of incest or anything like that. This is something that basically they used as some sort of birth control, and they didn't have the welfare or the knowledge to use the hundreds of different types of things that they can use so they wouldn't get pregnant. And of course, the one being not actually lay down and have sex with every other man on the side of the road, and maybe this wouldn't happen. I don't think that anybody should be burdened with anybody, but I mean, it's a huge thing to talk about. And as a man, apparently I don't have any right to talk about it. I don't have any right when it comes to, if I get a woman pregnant, she has all the rights when it comes to that. But as I get older in my life, and when I think about really all this is about responsibility that women don't have when it comes to this, and I don't like it when other men white knight for women when it comes to pro-choice. We need to put them at the same level that we would be at. The state comes in and garnishes our wages when we have a kid. Sometimes they're not even our kid, and they still get money from us. But the state has nothing to do with the women when she does stuff like this. And it's, yes, you have to have a man to get you impregnated 99.9% of the time, unless you take the stuff and you use it later on. But the truth is that it's still her responsibility, and she needs to do. And we need to instruct women that it's their responsibility. And as I said before, in other my either videos when I talk about MGTOW or something like that women will never be respected, no matter what we do from the law side, where we try to be so equal, so much that it's hurting men. Men deep down will never respect women until they actually take responsibility for what they do. And until that actually happens, we never will. My wife looks at me when I say shit like this. I don't really care. It's absolutely true. We know that you guys get away from doing shit that if a man would do it would be vilified and we'd be thrown in prison. It's not true. It is true that sometimes women actually go to jail at the same level as men do, but it's not the trend anyway. But overall, everybody thinks she's going to be bigger than Glenn Beck's company anyway, and I just find that stupid as well. I look at these comments and I'm like, really? The man was making over $20 million a year at Fox. He started his own channel. He's still syndicated on radio networks all around the country. Maybe his star is not like what it used to be, but we'll see what she does. And it won't be because she's pretty. Really, that's the reason why, right? She's not that good, to be honest. But that's all I have to talk about. Anybody wants to talk about it in the comments? Anybody have a different opinion on Tomi Lahren? Or do you think that maybe that Trump is colluding with the Russians? Or what do you think the actual answer when it comes to terrorism in this country or around the world, or in the West especially? Is it really going to be we have to nuke them, or we have to try to change their minds? Well, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It never has. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully next time I talk to you, it'll be a nice day outside. Sometimes we need this, though. You guys have a good week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.